and many of you have been there. Many of you have donated to the cause over there, and all that stuff goes right back to the community that you donate. And so we'll keep you in the loop on what's going on there. I want to thank Tom at La Ola for allowing us to sit in his area here and bring the show. Thanks to the mayor who just finished a live shot, another TV live shot. Everybody wants to do a live shot with the pier in the background. I mean, you can't find any other, well, I guess you can find a landmark, but a landmark like that was so iconic to Fort Myers Beach to stand in front of. I don't know what TV station that is. He doesn't seem to have a shirt on, but there are TV stations all over the beach today to mark the 6 months. And we want to invite Karen Paine up to the stage here. Karen is a resident of Fort Myers Beach, and we are also waiting for Cindy. Cindy is, well, let me give you this one. It's got a little longer cord, and you can sit right here. As Cindy is caught in traffic, it seems today is a high traffic day out there. Everybody is caught in traffic. And Karen, how are you, first of all?
Doing great.
Get yourself comfortable.
I'm trying to get situated.
Yeah.
You know, I'm challenged vertically.
All right, don't fall.
Okay,
all
I'm
right,
good.
I'm good. Nice and close with the mic.
I'm good. Thanks.
Tell everybody, you've been a resident here for how long and how you came down here and the whole thing?
We bought, my husband and I bought our beach cottage in 2012.
Okay.
He had been coming here for 20 some years. He plays in the Roy Hobbs baseball tournament every year out here in Lee County. And the guys always stayed on Fort Myers Beach. So 20 some years. And then I eventually started coming with him, and we just considered it our second home. And it just was familiar to us, just the people, the community. And then when we were here in 2012 for the baseball tournament, we had a great idea. Let's look at some properties and signed a contract for this cottage that we had no intention of doing when we came. So that was a little crazy. And but we knew we were retiring in 2017. So we rented it out for the next 5 years and came here for vacation right next to Publix.
Okay.
Right now, there's 4 empty lots there, and ours was one of them.
Okay, on Estero Boulevard, those 4 lots on the other side of the fence.
Right, so on the same side of the street as Publix, there are 4 empty lots where there used to be 4 houses. And so we purchased that, and then we rented it out. We came for vacation. We retired in 2017 and completely renovated the inside of our home and tore off the siding. My husband did all the siding outside. It's amazing what you can find on YouTube. You can do yourself. And, said, we're going to live here and you'll have to carry. People would say, oh, you could sell your house for so much more money. Why?
Yeah, right.
You're going to have to carry me out one day.
That's right.
Maybe many years from now. And so unfortunately, that's not what happened. But so we moved here full time in 2017. So we were in our home for 5 years.
And that's such a great location right there.
Perfect.
Estero Boulevard, you got beach access, you got Publix, you got Santini's not too far.
When we purchased it, we didn't even realize what a great location it is. I mean, Mid-Island to me is like the perfect location. You're right in the middle. Publix next door during peak season. We don't have to leave. We don't worry about the traffic. We walk and get our beer and our food. And then we walk across the street to the beach.
Yeah.
And we have our 95-pound dog, Dexter, that goes out every morning. And
what kind of dog is it?
He's a mixed breed. We rescued him 5 years ago.
Very cool.
Right after we moved here. So he loves the beach. And as it turned out, he had to swim for his life during Ian. So we know he's very strong. But yeah, so things took a little bit of a turn back.
So tell us about September 27th, the day before the storm. What were you thinking?
Well, I was getting increasingly scared as they updated the forecast. And my husband, who is just about as laid back, as chill as a person could be, like Fort Myers Beach is perfect for him. He's saying, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Our cottage was built in 1957. There were hurricanes, there were storms, there was all kinds of weather events here. Never any damage at all, not a speck of damage to our cottage. And so, like many people that made the decision to stay, he said, well, we're 13 feet up. Well, I think we'll be okay. We're going to get water. I said, there's a hurricane coming. He said, well, I know that. I know we'll get
now you guys are fighting.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
We literally fought for 2 days before the hurricane because I said, I feel in my gut, like I have this feeling we need to go. And he said, well, I'm not going. And up until like the night before at 11 o'clock, when I was watching the news, I said, you went to bed. And I said, I'm going to evacuate. I'm going to South Fort Myers High School.
You said that.
I did. I woke him up and said, I got to go. And he said, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Wow. No, I have a feeling that conversation has happened in many a house between the man and the woman. The man thinking he's going to stay and the woman being sensible.
It just was, the last thing I wanted to do was separate from my husband during this event. But I just had a sick feeling like never before. And I said, I just really feel like I need to go. Now, when I left, I took a blanket, a pillow, my ID to get in, and that was it. I mean, I thought I was coming back to my house the next day.
Now this is your full-time home at this point. Yes. You don't have a home in where did you come from?
Maryland.
So yeah, all your belongings are in this house. Everything you own is in that house. And your husband's in the house.
My husband and our dog. Yep.
And so the next day when you see what's going on, how do you communicate? Were you still able to talk on the phone?
Yeah. Well, what happened? So the next morning, we were FaceTiming back and forth throughout the morning up until 2:00 actually. And very early on, he realized this is not going to be good. This is going to be bad. And by the time he realized this, they were not allowing people. Well, I think once the winds got to 45 miles an hour, I think it is, they weren't allowing people to go across the bridge. And, I said it was a mandatory evacuation. But obviously many people made that decision based on things that have happened in the past and decided to stay. And he said, I know it's going to be bad, but, at this point, I'm kind of here. I'm hunkering down. And thank God I evacuated because I took one of our vehicles, which meant we had a vehicle because our other one was in a pile in Publix with a lot of other vehicles.
Yeah. I'm still yet to find a single vehicle that survived the storm on this island. It was a car cemetery.
Yeah, there's first of all, it's in the water, so you can't do anything with it.
Sure.
If it doesn't look like it's been to a demolition derby, which they all did.
Yeah.
So we were on FaceTime back and forth, and he would go outside and he would show me. And I just was like, I was panicking, and the water was rising so quickly. And we lived across the street from Seaside condominiums. And I said to him, why don't you go across the street? Because he said the water's rising rapidly. And I said, why don't you take Dexter and go to Seaside and go up the steps, because you could access the top level with the outdoor steps.
Okay.
And I said, you'll probably be okay up there. What do I know? I don't know, but at least it's someplace to go.
Higher, yeah.
So he tried, and we had pool floats that he was like trying to get Dexter in the pool float.
Oh, boy.
He was trying to get across.
And the dog's probably like, what the hell are you doing? Put a floaty on me for?
Right. He's like, what are we doing here? So they tried to get across the Sarah Boulevard and they couldn't. Because of the water. Surge was so strong. Now, if it was just my husband, he would have gotten across. But with trying to keep Dexter and get him across, the dog's 95 pounds, he just couldn't do it. So back to the house he came, and he had a big wooden pallet. He said, I can use this to float if I need to. Or at one point he tried to get up on the roof, and when he opened our back door to step on the deck to kind of check out the roof situation, the deck had already washed away, but he didn't realize it because the water was high. So he sunk down in and he got himself back up. But we had a flat roof that was like a slick material. He would have never been able to
stay.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing to hold on to. So he kept FaceTiming back and forth. The last time I talked to him was around 2:00. And I could hear like loud noises. And I kept saying, what is that noise? And he said, well, it's the house moving. Like you could hear, it's all wood. It's a wood cottage. And you could hear it creaking and moving. And he said, the house is moving. And I said, okay. Don't you think it's time that you need to get out of the house? So the water was probably 1 or 2 feet up in the house. It came up through the vents in the floor. And he said, okay, I have to go. He packed his phone into a Ziploc bag and a change of clothes, and he put it in a Turtle Time backpack because he volunteers for Turtle Time.
Okay.
And he went with his shorts and no shirt and his water shoes, and he went to open the front door. And the house at that time had moved and gotten swept away, and he didn't realize it.
Wow.
So when he thought he was going to be looking at Estero Boulevard, he was actually looking at our neighbor's roof who lived behind us. So the house turned around completely and drifted into our neighbor's house behind us, crashed into it. And unfortunately, most of the damage of his home is from our home hitting it. So when he opened the door, there was his roof in front of him. So that was a miracle. And to me, there's many miracles in the story. So how do you open your door and there's like a roof in front of you to say, just climb on this roof? So he went to lift Dexter onto the roof, and Dexter got very panicky.
Sure.
And tried to jump behind him and missed and ended up in the water, in the surge. So now Dexter, in 2 seconds, my husband said, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Like, of course, the whole thing, you've never seen anything like it. But in 2 seconds, he was like so far away. He was like a black speck. And he said, okay, I have to go get him. Well, Dexter turned around and saw him and he was like, oh no, I'm not here and you're there. And that dog, now he would come out to the beach every day and get in the Gulf, but he would get cooled off. He was never like a big swimmer. That dog literally swam for his life. He started going with his paws. And my husband said, I don't know how long it took. It took forever, but he swam against the surge. Like people can't even swim against the surge. So he swam back to Joe and he reached down and grabbed his harness because now he's on the roof and pulled him up onto my neighbor's roof. Now, my neighbor's roof is peaked and it has shingles. So he put Dexter down on the roof and he just laid like this on top of him for 4 hours during the worst part, from like 2:30 until 6:30 during the worst part. And the storm was just kind of hovering and just like beating the heck out of everything. And he said, well, I asked the angels to surround me with white light. And they did. I said to myself, okay, one moment, please. I said I wasn't going to do this, but anyway. So the tin roofs are tearing. He can hear it. He can hear everything tearing, and it's literally flying all around him, and nothing touches this man. Nothing. 4 hours. And I said to him, thank God I left, because there is not a chance on this universe that I would have been able to do what he did. So he did this and he literally waited until the storm moved on. And as quickly as the water came, it started receding.
No kidding.
And he said, okay, I have to get down off of this roof. So he waited until it got to about 3 feet. He couldn't jump in sooner than that. It was still too turbulent. There was too much of a surge. So when it got to about 3 feet, he said, well, I take a chance and I jump because you don't know what kind of crap is in there.
Sure.
Muck, whatever. So he jumps in, and in the meantime, I forgot the part of the story, a neighbor across the street, they had decided to stay in their home. Many people had decided to stay, obviously.
Right.
They were 16 feet, they were 18 feet up off the ground. And they knew that because they just had an insurance adjuster out there measuring. So they see Joe and they're waving to him to let him know that I see you and we're going to watch you. And they had a generator, they had water, they had food, and they just watched the whole 4 hours he was over there.
Wow.
And when it started receding and he got in the water, well, he jumped in first because he doesn't go anywhere without Dexter. Dexter would never allow him to go anywhere without him. So he jumps in and he's going, come on, let's go. And Dexter looked at him like, are you crazy? Like, I just like swam in this surge. Like, you think I'm going to jump in that water? And he just wouldn't. Like, he kept going to the edge, going back, and going to the edge, and he just couldn't do it. So then Joe had to climb back on top of the roof.
Yeah.
Throw Dexter in. And then they went across the street to her neighbor's house, who brought him in. They gave him food. They gave him shelter. They gave him a bed to sleep in that night.
Now, did those people watch the entire incident? Were they able to see what he was going through from the beginning? And there was nothing they could do.
Nothing. There's no way you can get out in that surge. You know, I mean, people tried and weren't very successful. Some people were able to manage the surge, but thank goodness he was never actually in the water. I mean, he opened the door and there was a roof there to climb onto.
Yeah.
But they knew that eventually, hopefully, he could get down and come across to their house. And I had lost contact with him. 5 o'clock, I think, was the last. I had no Wi-Fi, no cell. Obviously, nobody did. So I had no idea what happened. There were sheriff's deputies at the high school. Everybody was talking about Fort Myers Beach is decimated. It's gone. And I was devastated and heartbroken because I'm thinking there's no way they made it through this.
Right.
And it wasn't until 10 o'clock that night that I knew that they had made it. I was
How?
sure.
How'd you find out?
Okay, this is another
crazy story.
It is. It's like one miracle after the other. So we have 4 children in Maryland. I had talked to them about 4:30. I was trying to hold off so I could tell them that he was safe, and I wasn't able to do that. I said, the house is gone and I don't know where Daddy is. What do you mean? Well, I don't know how else to say it. So about 6:30, He's now inside Mary's house. So 2 hours later, and he says to her, I have to get in touch with my wife. And she said, well, there's no calls going back and forth. They tried calling me. It didn't go through.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he said, well, let me try with my kids. And I don't know why the call went through, but they tried and tried and tried. And he connected with our son.
Wow.
And he said, look, I just want to let you guys know I'm okay. I desperately need to get in touch with mom. And they all knew where I was, but nobody could get in touch with me. And so anyway, I had created a group text with my 4 kids and that we were communicating. So my youngest daughter tried calling her dad because now they had the phone number where he was because he had gotten through to them. And she tried for 3 hours straight to call him, just repeatedly hitting redial. Finally, the call went through and she said, can I speak with my dad? This is one of his daughters. And she said, I'll go wake him up. He was sound asleep. He was very dazed and confused for a long time after that throughout the night. And so she was trying to piece together the story that he told her. So she wanted to update her siblings. So on this group text message, she left this long message. I talked to dad. He's very confused, but I think this is what happened. He's at Mary's house. He was on Dave's roof. He's okay. And all of a sudden she sends it and my phone dings. And I'm in the corner on the floor in the high school under the blanket because I can't see or talk to anybody. I'm sobbing. And it dings and I go, oh my gosh, was that my phone? So I go to my phone and I look and I scroll through and I see words like, dad's okay. He's at Mary's. I'm going, who's Mary? I don't know Mary. He was on Dave's roof. He's okay. Dexter's okay. And I just literally fell to the ground. Just, are you kidding me? And then I tried to respond to the message. It won't go through.
God, torture.
I tried to make a call. It won't go through. So it's a miracle that message came through. Yeah. But it came through to let me know he's okay. Now, tomorrow, you need to go find him. And that was a whole nother thing. But I did. Yeah. I found him and
how'd you get over there?
I got in my car. They were trying to talk people into staying. They really didn't want people to leave. They said, there's no electricity, there's no water, there's no communication. They said you can't get through on the streets, but I said, I need to go get my husband. They said, you can't come back in. I said, that's okay. I have a vehicle. I got to go find my husband. So I got in my Explorer and I headed over and it was early. It was like 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And I just, even though what happens, you're driving through it and you're thinking.
Well, you're not getting over here in the car though, right?
I did. I sure did.
How did you get over in the car?
Kind of like Mario Kart.
But there was full of sand, right?
Well, I got to the front of Lonnie Cott.
Okay.
And just going through the streets was very surreal. It looked like a movie scene that was staged or something surreal, like fake.
Mm-hmm.
Because these things don't belong here, especially closer to the beach with all the boats that were stacked on top of cars and in the middle of the street. But when I got over here, I was shocked. I said, why in the world are they letting people over the bridge?
Yeah.
But nobody had been out here yet.
There were no rules. Nobody knew what to follow. No, I mean,
I did the right thing as a resident. I put my little tag on the thing and maybe they'll let me through. Everybody was coming across. So I came across and I said, well, he's walking. Oh, because when we spoke the day before, he said, when the storm is over, I'm going to walk over the bridge and there's a little parking lot on the other side. Sure. He said, just pick me up there. Okay, so we made a little plan. So I said, I'm going to go to the parking lot and hopefully he's going to walk there. I didn't know where he was or whatever. So I'm driving through and there was a man that was stranded almost in front of the Walmart up here. And he was on the opposite side and his car was turned the wrong way. And he was just sitting on the medium strip. And I felt bad for him. I'm like, well, let me see if I can help him somehow.
Oh, gosh. You didn't have enough going on?
Right. So I pull over and I go, I'm really sorry. My phone's not working. He's like, yeah, nobody's phone. I said, but can I drop you off somewhere? I felt bad. He was sitting there. I see you're stranded. And he was like, well, no, thank you for stopping and asking, but there's a tow truck coming. I said, how in the world did you call a tow truck?
Right.
And he said, well, Walmart and Publix, somehow their Wi-Fi is still working in the parking lot, which I would have never thought to check. So I said, that's brilliant. I said, are you sure I can't help you? He said, no, but thank you for stopping and asking me. I appreciate that. But the reason why I stopped was because I would have never thought to go into Walmart parking lot. I pull in Walmart parking lot and there's piles of cars all over the place.
Yeah.
But there's
People
also
thought their cars were going to be safe there.
right. But that people are pulled in, and as soon as I pull in and it connects to the Wi-Fi, my phone goes beep 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 beep. You know, I'm getting all these messages, and it's going crazy. And I thought, okay, this is good. Let me try to get in touch with Mary, who I've never met before, but that's where Joe is.
I see.
And I say, hi, this is Karen, Joe's wife. Thank you for saving his life. Can you tell him I'm coming to get him? And she said, okay. He said he'll be there in about an hour. It'll take him about an hour to walk. It's about 3 miles. But we know there's houses and stuff in the middle of the street.
Yep.
So I say, okay. So I come across, and when I realized I could get across the bridge, I thought, well, I'll save him some walking time. I'll go as far as I can down Estero, which wasn't far. I came down here
yeah, those first few days
no, you can't describe it. But what was so disappointing was the number of people that didn't belong over here.
Yeah.
That were
taking
hey,
pictures.
We survived and you know, it was just like it was heartbreaking, because I'm like, people are literally days confused, lost, lives lost, homes lost, and you're over here having a party, right? So I sat in front of Lonnie Kai. I'm like, okay, he'll be walking up this way. I can't miss him. It's the only way off the island. So I sat and I waited an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I was like, okay, something has happened. And I'm watching all this craziness happen at the same time. And I decided, now, if he couldn't get through Estero to walk down here because there's too much stuff, what would he do? And I thought, well, what he did every day is he walked out to the beach, and he walked down the beach every single morning, first thing. So sure enough, that's what he did.
And you missed him.
He walked up the beach and he crossed through Lonnie Kai parking lot.
Oh, jeez.
Right behind where I was sitting. So now he's on the other side of the bridge going, where is she?
Oh, boy.
And I'm over here going, where is he?
Yeah.
So I go across the bridge and I go in the parking lot, which was just full of muck.
Yeah.
And I come back out and I go, okay, maybe something happened to him. Maybe he turned around. I'm going to go back to Walmart, steal their Wi-Fi again, and ask Mary, is he at your house? And so I pull out onto San Carlos. And I start pulling out, and over on the sidewalk by the gas station, he's standing there with Dexter. We're here, and I was second time that I completely lost it.
What was that hug like?
I was a mess. I stopped in the middle of the road. I'm like, get in this car.
Now you're back to fighting already.
And all the wives, and I said to him on the phone, if you survive this, I'm going to kill you. Right? Get in the car. And so he goes, no, you really need to pull over in the parking lot, because I know you need a moment. So I did. I pulled in the parking lot and I got out, and I must have said 20 times, I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead. I thought you were dead.
Wow.
And he said, well, what do we do now? And I said, well, he said, let's get a hotel. I said, there's no power. There's no water. There's no electric. There's nothing. We can't even communicate with our family. The only thing we can do is drive to Maryland and don't stop till you get there. We left for Maryland 17 hours straight through, never stopped.
Wow.
Just drove straight through to our kids. And, you know, we're fortunate that we have family and kids and resources. I say to people all the time, we're lucky. People think that's crazy, but there's people that don't have resources. They don't have a vehicle. We had a vehicle. They don't have family.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody to rely on. And we just have been surrounded by nothing but great people.
How many times did your kids slap the dad in the head when they finally met him back in Maryland for the first time since the storm?
I mean, he says now, he's like, it was crazy. Of course, I would never do that again. But you just never in a million years imagine what's going to happen.
Right. It was that false sense of security that everybody talks about from the last storm, when they said there was going to be storm surge. And you never believe the force of the water, I guess, until you're experiencing what that crazy storm surge can do to structures and buildings and things like that.
And we moved here right after Irma. So Irma happens, and we were moving the following month. And of course, Irma was supposed to be a big event and storm surge. And although it was, not great, it still was not.
Didn't compare. Didn't compare.
Right.
So you go back, you get settled up with your family, and then at some point you come back. You come back to your property.
We had to come back.
Yeah.
I got in the car, and he said to me, I know you don't want to come back. And I said, are you kidding me? Of course I want to come back. Like, I had told God the day before, if everything is gone, my home, my husband, my dog, I'm leaving and never coming back. But if he is still here, this is where we belong. And we love this community. And we fully intended on rebuilding. And, it took us a couple of months. We came back, we met with people we need to meet with, meetings, phone calls, really, really, really wanted to rebuild. And, everybody has to make their own decision.
Right. Well, you're already gone. You've already gone through an emotional roller coaster trying to figure out if your husband's alive. You get through that. I shouldn't even say you get through that. You get past that.
Right.
You come back for the first time. And again, this is, I said this earlier, that it almost feels like crying when you ask this question, but you're standing in front of what used to be your dream house and everything you own is in it, and it's not there.
It's not there.
What is that like?
It was, it was so surreal. The pilings were still there. Somehow the appliances decided to have a party on our property because we had like 6 washer and dryers that landed on our property. I'm like, I don't know where they all came from. I don't even know if one of them was mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about it. And when we noticed that our house was where it was, we went over, and because it was wood, it just fell into, like, it literally just collapsed. So it wasn't like you could go in and retrieve things because it was just everything collapsed into it. But we tried to get a few things here and there. And each time we went back, we would try to find a few little things. And we did. This locket has my parents' ashes in it.
You found that?
My husband found it under a whole pile of debris.
Crazy.
Now, right. I mean, that's another miracle.
Your house isn't even in the same spot,
No,
but your husband
it's
found that.
And it's got muck and there's just piles of debris. I brought these letters. So my husband was in the Marine Corps, and we started dating a long time ago. And he wrote me these 22 letters when he was in boot camp.
Cool.
I was still in high school, but I kept them, and there's a stack of them, and I tied like a shoestring. And I kept it in my bedside table in my bedroom. And once in a while we would take them out and read them, and hysterical, because you read letters you wrote when you were teenagers. I mean, it gives you a good laugh. But I saved them all those years, and I got a message from a woman I had never met who lived several streets away, and she found me on Facebook and said, I found this pile of letters, and I'm not sure if they're yours, but they're from the service. And I thought to myself, I don't know what she's talking about. Like, it was like 3 days after the hurricane.
Sure.
And my daughter goes, Mom, those are the letters Dad wrote to you. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
She found them and saved them for me, and I still have them.
That's
and
crazy.
They're still readable because of how I had them stacked. Like, the top one is like, whatever, not good. But all the ones in between, you can still take out and read them and whatever. So we had a few things and I mean, the community has been unbelievable. People reaching out, wanting to know, is this yours? Is that yours?
Right.
The fact that he found my parents' ashes. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. People are finding things all the time, even up to today, and they're just saving them and trying to, that's one good thing about social media. You can work.
Absolutely.
If you work at it, you can probably find somebody if there's a name or a picture.
Right.
And there's so many groups here on the beach that are trying to help out.
Right.
What did you decide to do?
Well, in the meantime, while we were trying to decide, we bought a fifth wheel RV over in Bonita Springs. So we kind of went back and forth, and, we could have stayed there, forever, as long as we needed to. But after a couple of months, we made the decision that we were going to have to sell our property and buy another house. And it was not easy. It was not easy. Jorge has our property in his care. But what we said was, we're still going to be close to the beach because we feel like this is our community. So we found a house. Jorge helped us, and we're 5 miles. And it takes us 10 minutes to drive over here, and we come over all the time. So we wanted to be, our biggest thing was we need to be very close to the beach.
Right.
And so we're right off of Summerlin and Winkler. We're very close. We can get here in 10 minutes if the traffic's not bad. And we come over all the time. Joe brings Dexter over. They walk the beach in the morning, just jot right on over and come back. So we found a house that we're settling into, and that'll be our new forever home. And, one day we'll sell our property, and it's not what we wanted to do.
Sure.
But it's the decision we had to make.
Did you find out because the reconstruction at your point?
It's just the cost.
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, we came here, we knew we wanted to come here and live out our retirement years. And it was, the decision was, quite frankly, yes, we could rebuild. We'd have to go back to work. And so that's why I say everybody's decision is very personal.
True.
People make their own decisions for whatever reason. And we said, we want to, be able to still be here and experience this. And so we can't afford to do it and still be retired. So we're still retired. We'll sell our property and sell, pay off this house eventually once the property sells, and we're not in a hurry for it to sell. But there are people that are. Our neighbor had just bought her house and has a big mortgage on it that her house floated away too. Yeah. And she has to write a mortgage payment every month, and there's no house there.
That's the worst thing in the world.
And so this is why I'm saying we're more fortunate than other people, because that wasn't our situation. When we moved here, we paid our house off, so we didn't need to worry about that. But everybody's making their own decision. They're doing the best they can. Some people mentally can't go through the process. We're happy being close by and supporting all the local businesses.
How is Joe doing?
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
He's very strong mentally, spiritually, physically. And if he wasn't, if they ask him questions, but he'll go, it was no big deal. And I go, well, it kind of was.
No, you just have to be standing on somebody else's roof through a Category 4 hurricane, but you just all in a day's work.
I mean, it's crazy, right? So, I mean, this is just how he looks at things. He's like, there's worse things that happen to people. And yes, there's a lot of people that are a lot worse off than us. And that's why we continue to say that we came out of this very fortunate, even though we lost our house and everything that was in it.
Okay, that's a great way of looking at things. How's Dexter doing?
Dexter's great.
Not afraid of the water?
Well, he hasn't gotten in the pool yet at our house.
Okay.
Which he used to, so I'm not sure. He was always very attached to us. So it's hard to say if he's being clingy because, he's traumatized. But he was like that before, so he was very attached. So he's doing great. Yeah, he's definitely the survivor. He swam through the surge.
You talk to other people who have had similar stories about what they went through on the beach, and is it like therapy? Does it or am I overthinking it there?
No, I mean, it's nice. We got together with a lot of people that we know, obviously, that are, rebuilding. Rick and Amy are two of the people that I saw the video you put the other day. They stayed in their house. They lost their house. There's a lot of people that we stay connected to, and I think it is therapeutic to kind of talk about what you went through, because you think you went through such a terrible thing until you talk to the next person. And look, it's not like a contest. It was a terrible thing for everybody. Even people that don't live here, that come here, that feels like it's their second home. It's a terrible thing, but you just work yourself through it. And, for the first several months, and I don't know when this stopped for me, but every day that I woke up, I would have to go, did we really lose our house? It was right. I don't even have to describe it. It was very surreal. And every day that's what I would wake up and think, did that really happen? We're really not there anymore. And then all of a sudden that stopped. So I don't even know when that stopped, but I think moving. And so we bought this house. We've been there 3 weeks, and I feel like we're starting to settle into a new reality, a new sense of normal. When we were in the RV, it was like our life before Ian. And now I feel like I'm in limbo, and I feel like I need to get on with my life. Yeah. What is it where are we going to land? So once we found the house and once we moved, I feel like, okay, now I know this is how it's going to be, and it's our new reality.
Do you feel better living off the beach?
I don't know that I would say better. It's different. If we could have it back and do it again, I would definitely 100% be here. But there's something to be said about being on the other side of the bridge. We wanted to be in this location because we feel like this is home. So all the places we go and what we do is in this area. Now all of a sudden we're like, oh, it's only 5 minutes from here instead of whatever.
If anybody goes by that, please drive the speed limit if you do. But if you go by the Publix area, that spot that you're talking about is completely bare now. It looks like they've knocked down houses on Estero Boulevard, and there are houses behind that. I don't know what the name of that road is, but that the last time I was there, it didn't even look like they were looked at.
Right beside us was Bayland, and then the street next to that one as well, has a lot of homes that I think we were in a spot that just got
slammed.
Yeah, there were certain sections on the beach you can see driving up and down that there are still houses standing, and all of a sudden there aren't. And we just got hit. The house next to us went first, which was closer to the ground than we were because we were up higher. But there's 4 of us in a row that just got wiped out.
Did Joe say how, could he see, again, I feel like I'm prying when I ask this, but could he see how forceful the water was coming from the Gulf? Like, was he able to see how
He could,
powerful that storm surge was?
yeah, I mean, you could really, and we were on FaceTime and he was showing me, and it was like, it's just the waves, like the force of the waves and how high up they were going was, it was surreal. He said, in my lifetime, I never thought I would see anything like this or experience anything. And then to have enough force to literally, sweep your house away. It was just, I mean, so thank God he didn't end up in the surge. I think he probably would have been okay, but he didn't have to, deal with that part. So,
well, thank you so much for telling this story.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very much that we're still apart here, even though we live 5 miles away. Here we are most of the time.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Karen Paine, everybody. Thank you.
I got to give you a hug because I see Thank you, Ed.
All right, everybody. We were supposed to have Cynthia Danks on, and I think she is stuck in traffic still. The traffic is backed up all the way to Beach Pottery. And that, I don't think I've said that since the last Ali Frazier fight. It's been so long since the traffic was backed up that far. So we will try and have Cynthia on at a different time. And we want to thank you all for tuning in for this marathon 2-hour and 37-minute show. Thank you to all the guests. Thank you to all the sponsors. Thank you to all of you. Thanks for Marie. Thank you to Marie for coming down. And thank you to La Ola for having us here. We'll be back Friday night from Margarita, Saturday morning from Wahoo Willie's. And have a great day and a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.